Good morning, dear students. Today we are going to speak about film review, which is a topic of the writing class and what is review itself. My name is Shukurova Madina Askarna. I am teacher of English Linguistics Department. So let's start. What is film review itself? A review is a special type of article written for publication in a magazine, newspaper, giving a brief description and evaluation of a film, book, or play, TV, radio program. It may be formal and semi-formal depending on who is going to read on the style and depending on its intended readership, and is usually written using present tenses. So a successful review should consist of 3 parts, which is introduction, main body, and conclusion. And what should be given in the introductory part of your paper? In the introduction, which mentions the title, the type of the film, book, play, etc., the setting, when and where this film was taken, and the theme, the main characters of the film. In the main body, you can give 2 or more paragraphs containing the main points of the plot without revealing the ending. Of course, this is the main criteria and the main demand that no revealing, no ending of the film should be given, and evaluating such features as acting, writing style, direction, and characters as well. And the third one is a conclusion part, of course, which is the summarizing part of your essay, where you should include overall assessment of the work and a recommendation, usually with its own justification, of course. And you may also be asked to give some reasons why some people should see the film, play, or read the book, for example, how it has influenced you, etc. Note the number and length of paragraph rise depending on the topic, of course. So these 3 things are the things that you should include while writing your film review. Of course, don't forget about it, that we are going to learn how to write film review, where, of course, should be introduction, where you have to mention title, type of the film, of course, setting, the main characters, and the theme. In the main part, shortly is the plot of the film without the revealing of the ending, and a conclusion which shows somehow overall assessment of the work and plus your recommendations of the film with its own justification. So here I gave some extract from films. 2 films are demonstrated here. Some extract are taken just as an example for having some idea about what is the film itself. So as you know, while learning, when we learned with different types of writing, we learned with you, for example, letter writing, cause and effect, essays, different types of writing, for example, report writing. So they had their own language that is required, what should be written while writing these kind of writing, as well as, for example, film review also has its own language that should be used while writing. So what are they? To begin your review, you have to use the following words. These well written, informative, fascinating, thought-provoking film as, for example, or book as. The film is set in. The film tells the story of. The film is based on. And then the film place starts. The film is directed by. The film is a sequel to. Then, if you want to finish in the conclusion part of your summarizing part of your film review, you have to use the following language, like you should definitely see it. You should definitely read it. If you are writing book review, for example, don't miss, you might enjoy. All in all, it is well worth seeing. All in all, it is well worth seeing, since, as I've just told you, in conclusion, you should give somehow overall assessment, recommendation with justification. Why? Not only it is worth reading, why? On the whole, I wouldn't recommend it in view of the fact that it is a classic of its kind. It is sure to be a hit. It is sure to be a bestseller, for example, of the film. So you have to use these languages while writing the introduction and the conclusion part of your review. You have to use these language, of course. Then, of course, we have to mention here the main body. What useful language should be used while writing, while describing the main part, which is about 2, even 3, 4, 5 paragraphs, depending on you, of course. If you want to make it longer, you can have more paragraphs than 2, but at least should be 2 paragraphs. So what useful language do we have to use? To explain the plot, you can write, for example, the plot revolves around, the plot involves, the plot focuses on, the plot has unexpected twist, for example, or you can write the story begins with, the story unfolds, reaches a dramatic peak where, for example. I told you have also to evaluate, assess various features like characters, directing, script writing, and so on. So what useful language you have to use while assessment? For example, the play film series has a strong mediocre cast, for example. The acting is moving, the acting is powerful, excellent, or weak, or disappointing, unconvincing, or the plot is gripping, dramatic, fascinating, suspense-filled, fast-moving, for example. The plot is far-fetched, the plot is predictable, the plot is confusing, dull, or unimaginative is language that should be used while opening the plot. If you want to describe the script itself, or the dialogue, you can say is touching, it is witty, it is hilarious, it is boring, or it is beautifully written, it is brilliantly written, directed, or sensitively directed. Those languages that should be used while revealing, opening, and describing the plot, the main body consisting of, as I've just told you, at least 2, 3 to 5, even more paragraphs. Now, as a revision, I gave here the structure of a film review, where there is an introduction, main body, and conclusion. So in introduction, you have to speak about background, type of the story, setting, scene, and main characters. In the main body, you have to give, as I've told you, introduction is considered to be paragraph number 1. 2, 3, 4, 5 paragraphs can be. So main points of the plot should be given in the main body. Then you should comment on various features like acting, plot, characters, and the other paragraph number 4 and 5, for example, if you have more than 2, 3 paragraphs, you can give explanation, reason, and example, or you can give 2 paragraphs, as I told you earlier, at least. You can give this all in 2 paragraphs. As an example, we have here 4 paragraphs in the main body. Then we have conclusion here, final paragraph 1, which is overall assessment of work and recommendation, as I told you, with justification. Don't forget about it. So exact number and division of paragraphs will depend on the specific requirements of each writing task. And don't forget about the following, that the useful language that we have just learned with you that is required and demanded while writing the introduction, main body, conclusion, it should be written according to those criteria, and you have to use those words and phrases while opening the introduction, main body, and conclusion of your film review. The next one here, we have got several exercises. So let's read the model and identify the topic of each paragraph. What do I mean by identifying each paragraph? I have here several examples. So you have to identify, is it a film review? Is it a book review? Is it a story? Then you have to choose the most suitable word from those on the right to complete each one numbered spaces in the model. So let's start with you. For example, Alice's Success by Langborn, College Owen second-year student Katie McLean, is a biography, romance, novel, or thriller, which has just won a major national writers competition, and deservedly so. It is a long, well-written box office children's story. Place it, set, put, time it in Northern England during the early part of this century, which tells the details, plot, character, tale of a young woman. Ellie Turner, in her struggle to make herself known in the business world, which was so dominated by men at that time. Her neighbor and childhood friend, William Thompson, causes her the greatest difficulties of all. The story begins with Ellie being left a considerable sum of money in her grandfather's will. Subsequently, she decides to set up a catering business as a means of earning a living, making use of her abilities as a good cook. So the plot or script, dialect, screenplay follows Ellie's ups and downs as she tackles problems after problem to make her dream come true until, despite great opposition from friends, family, and acquaintances, she finally achieves her goal. The tale is a real, historic, excellent, spectacular, with episodes which are both moving, growing, true, sorrow, with episodes, for example, here, and retains the reader's interest throughout. It gives observant, well-directed, documentary, fascinating insight into the life in the early 90s and the hardship encountered by people at that time. Ellie's success is well for good, worth, rewarding reading if you enjoy period fiction. It can teach the reader about fair play or lack of it in the business world and provides a welcome break from set literary text and course books. So that was the model of the film review, that you have to choose as well the most suitable words from the right to complete the numbered spaces in the model. So let's continue with the next activity. You have to read the following excerpts and fill in the list gaps in the sentences using the words from the box, like action, heroine, masterpiece, readable, stance, character, interval, opening, rehearsal, sims, climax, lines, plot, soundtrack, and thriller. So plus you have to say what is the subject of each review. So we have here 4 subjects. So they are taken from film reviews. They can be books, story, play, script review. Also, you have to say what kind of script is it and what kind of review is it. For example, let's read the first one. On It's What? 9. Tom Watt's new production was a disappointment. The poor performance in the first act may have been due to the lack of what? As many in the cast seemed ill-prepared, uneasy in their roles and unsure of their what. After the sound, the second half was a great improvement. B1. This star-studded, electrifying remake of an old favorite has impressive and dangerous what? Spectacular special effects and an original by one of the hottest current rock bands. So the best movie of the year, don't miss it. The novel is narrated in the first person by its, you have to complete it, Amelia Evans, and it is through her actions that something unfolds. From the opening chapter, her dominates events right up to their dramatic. D1, it has all the making of a first class. It is set in 15th century England in something that you have to choose from the box. It explores, center, and around the paranormal and the occult. Although it is not quite a literary something, it is a definitely very something. So you have to choose what is it, A, B, C, D. So you have to choose words from the box, fill in the gaps, and comment on the subject of each review. There are, for example, several hints that can tell you this is a film review, this is a book review, for example. So you have to comment on the subject as well. So the next one. The next activity is connected with using collocations and to fill in the gaps by collocations and so on. So use the words only once. So we have here the following. So we have the following words like box office, curtain, gratuitous, long running, Oscar, rave, standing, theater, thunderous, and TV. What words do we have? There are 10 words that you have to make collocations using these words from the box, like box office, and so on. So what is the word number one? Is viewers, audience, heat, soap opera, ovations we have, call, violence, we have applause, we have reviews, we have nominee here that we have to complete, of course, using these words. So be attentive, please. Before completing this, you have to know their meaning. As some of these words are somehow synonymous, you have to be attentive not to misunderstand them, of course. And in order to not to make a mistake, you have to know their meaning, of course. So by filling the gaps, you have to make up some collocations. The next activity is, so you have to read the list below and then the film review on the following page, which is given on the right side of your screen. Then tick the features from the list which have been mentioned in the review. For example, as in the first one, we have got background, which is ticked. So it means type of the film is mentioned in the review. So let's read and then we shall analyze it with you. Dangerous Minds, directed by John Smith, is set in a poor inner city area high school. The main character is a trainee teacher, played by Michelle Pfeiffer, who also happens to be an ex-Marine. The hit song Gangstar Paradise from the film soundtrack gives the impression that the film is a powerful drama. However, it actually turns out to be a story of hope and optimism. The film centers on Miss Johnson, Michelle Pfeiffer, who is put in charge of a class made up of the city's toughest and most troubled adolescents. She soon realized that by treating the youths with the respect and understanding that human beings deserve, she can maintain order. Moreover, she wins the trust of your class while actually helping them to enjoy learning and to realize that they control their own lives. Dangerous Minds covers many of the problems young people face in society today, some things made possibly by the fact that it is not just a film about a teacher, but also about disturbing problems faced by members of the class. This is all done in a realistic way with which most of us can identify. If you like to see good triumph over the evil and are fond of happy endings, then you should definitely see this film, although it is probably not the most fascinating film you will ever watch. Pfeiffer's performance is outstanding. So you can see here, so you have to tick the list of those great features that is mentioned in the following review. So as for example, if setting, where, and when is mentioned, you have to put tick. Theme, adaptation, for example, is it from the novel, from the play, or as the screen is original, for example. So while speaking about the main body, so you have if details of the plot, ending of the film, or characters, other characters, or comments on the characters are given, you can put some ticks to them. Then in the conclusion part, is it positive comment by critic, or is it negative? Is it recommendation also with justification? Don't forget about it. So you have to tick those features mentioned in the film reviews that we have just read with you. So the next activity is, we have got here the next activity where you have to read somehow dialogue between two people. Of course, the dialogue is about the film, kind of oral review, we can say it like this. Plus, you have to read the exercise task having here. So you have to fill in the blanks. You have to write the name of the film, where is it set, maybe, and when it is set, and then type of the film, story, theme, stars, acting, script, characters, and your recommendations, for example. So I can help you with the first one. The name of the film is Rain Man. It is set in America in the late 1980s, and then you have to continue reading the dialogue. When you finish reading the dialogue, you can complete the other spaces of our task. So your homework is, please, dear student, don't forget about it. So you have to write your review. You have to write your review based on the film you have recently watched. And then you have to use the useful language required, of course. Don't forget about it. And then you have to use the required language for the introduction, for the main body, and the conclusion of your review. So there should be at least one paragraph of the introduction, 2 paragraphs at least of the main body without the revealing of the problem. Then the conclusion, of course. So overall should be at least 4 paragraphs, at least, with the useful language required. So it was shortly about how to write film review and what is film review itself, presented by me, of course. Thank you very much for your attention. Goodbye. Thank you.